And you too. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on IG. Hey, everyone on IG. Hey, everybody on YouTube. My name is Kimrah Minuty. I'm an intuitive ascension coach. You're joining me for another episode of Gaia Soars Live. And tonight, our topic is the dark night of the soul. Hi, Svetlana, my love. How are you? So we're talking about Dark Night of the Soul tonight, guys, and I just want you to know that this live is about how to deal with a Dark Night of the Soul, why they happen, and what is really the purpose of the Dark Night of the Soul, and what how can you maximize your misery and turn your tragedy into triumph. Okay, so let's talk about that first. I love you too, Svetlana. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. And whoever just hopped on live here on Facebook, please say hi, drop your name in the comments, and let's get going. All right, so the dark night of the soul is part of the awakening process, okay? And the best way to explain a dark night of the soul is it's like hitting rock bottom. So, what happens is whenever you have a dark night of the soul, you are experiencing extreme internal um, emotional anguish. Okay. And not only are you experiencing those things, but you're also having a very like rip your skin off spiritual awakening experience, meaning you can be feeling things that you've never felt before. You can be seeing things you've never seen before. You can hear things you've never heard before. So, those of you who are watching me on IG, I've got like these shadow horns, right? Well, oftentimes people will see demons or hear angels or hear galactic entities or all manner of things when they're having that's not even a word when they are having a dark night of the soul. Hi, Dr. Charnel. And so oftentimes what you want to do is first and foremost recognize that you're having a dark night of the soul, okay, and that it's temporary. The first thing you want to do is recognize that the dark night of the soul is a temporary phase. It may feel like it's never going to end because of the deep severity of all of the emotions that you're feeling, okay, but I need you to understand that it's temporary, okay? So, why do you go through a dark night of the soul in your ascension process? That's really the important question. Why am I getting my whole life dragged in this process? Well, it's because you are can you guys hear me, by the way? Like nobody said anything. If you can hear me, please just like pop on and say something. Um the reason that you are having a dark night of the soul is because your body, your soul is trying to birth something beautiful. Okay. Whether that beautiful thing that it's birthing is your new life, your new self, your new job, your new business, your new baby, even your new relationship, all of these different things are what come out of a dark night of the soul. For instance, I went through a dark night of the soul in 2017 when I was in a terrible car accident and I was on disability for 2 years. Coming out of that dark night of the soul, I wrote a book, right? How does that happen? Well, because the tragedies that lead to your dark night of the soul all have purpose. And the purpose is to start to strip the layers of your conditioning so that you can find your true self. And the way that you often have to go about doing that, unfortunately, is to get your ass handed to you by the universe. So, what that looks like is losing your job, losing your partner, losing your place to live, losing your children, even your pets dying, a family member that you care about dying, getting diagnosed with a chronic illness, um, getting diagnosed with something like cancer, car accidents, you name it. Okay. So any traumatic event can precipitate a dark night of the soul. Okay. And the purpose then is to find the silver lining, in your trauma, in your tragic event, to find out what was this kernel of wisdom that I needed to gain so that I can thrive and expand and become more present and more fully integrated with my divine self. Okay. So your dark night of the soul has gold. Like there's a pot of gold buried in your dark night of the soul. You just have to find it. And I know that sounds crazy because when you're in the thick of a dark night of the soul, there's nothing positive that anybody can tell you because it's such an extreme situation and it feels like crap. Okay. It feels horrible. There's nothing, like, I want to say there's nothing good happening. There are good things happening, but it doesn't feel good. And nobody ever wants to talk about how bad it actually feels. A dark night of the soul often feels like you're dying. Okay. It feels like you're dying. It feels like you're being burned alive. It feels like, I'm trying to think of something else unpleasant. Like it feels like Chinese water torture. It's not fun, but there is a purpose. And so one of the things that will help you go through subsequent dark nights of the soul, because you won't have it just once, things that will help you survive subsequent dark nights of the soul is to understand that there is a pot of gold at the end of this dark ass place that you're in. And your job is to not to give up. Don't quit in the dip. As as one of my friends always tells me, don't quit in the dip, which means when you're at the bottom of your life, at the just the lowest possible pit, that's not when you give up. You have to keep going so that you can actually get out of that pit, right? So don't quit while you're in hell. The best way to get through hell is to keep going. You don't want to sit there, right? So so that's how you that's one of the ways that you have to, like, that's one of the first things that you want to remember when you're dealing with the dark night of the soul. You want to first and foremost realize, okay, I might be in a dark night of the soul. This fucking sucks. Now, what is the purpose of it? What am I birthing? What am I creating? And why am I here? And at that time, the next thing that you want to do is you want to start looking at what the actual symptoms of your dark night of the soul, what is breaking in your life in order to birth a new reality. And when you start to look around and figure out, okay, why is this breaking? Okay, well, I lost my job, right? For example, I lost my job. I'm having a dark night of the soul. Why did I lose my job? Well, was your job serving your soul's purpose? Was your job keeping you comfortable so that you were unwilling to grow? Was your job trapping you in a situation or a relationship that was unhealthy for you and would not allow you to grow? Okay, so oftentimes, these are the questions you want to ask yourself to try to understand, yo, why am I in this situation and how do I get out, right? And I want you to understand that it doesn't mean that this dark night of the soul is your fault, because that's not what it is. It's not your fault. But it is a result of your wanting and your desire. So a dark night of the soul is primarily induced from a desire to create something truly beautiful or of meaning or of substance for yourself, and then subsequently for the collective. Okay. And in order for you to survive them with grace and ease, that's the first thing that you want to remember. You want to realize that, I'm actually working on something right now. I'm working on something. And you don't have to know what it is at the time that you're going through the dark night, because, like I said, when you're going through a dark night of the soul, it's dark and you're just trying to make it for an extra second, for an extra day, for an extra breath, even. Okay. And so at that time, you can't honestly be, you can't honestly categorize these things, right? You can just be like, I know that when I get through this, I will be shown the purpose of my suffering, so to speak. Okay. And once you have that mindset, it makes it easier to go through the dark night of the soul, so that you just know that you just have to hold on. And that's one of the things that I want to share with people, because oftentimes people have a dark night of the soul and they don't realize that they have the option to go through it and not stop in the dip, and they kill themselves. And it's extremely distressing to me. And I'm saying that with a smile because it makes me so extremely uncomfortable that that's really just like a grimace of discomfort. But the reality is that oftentimes people have a dark night of the soul and they don't have support and they're not equipped to handle it, and they don't have any spiritual tethers. They don't have anybody to ground them or talk to them about the situation, and they end up in a mental home, or they end up suicidal, or they end up unalive. And it breaks my heart. It quite literally breaks my heart to know that there are individuals who don't have the support to be able to go through a dark night of the soul, because there's no one to talk to them about it. And mind you, I went through 8 years of dark nights of the soul without basically anybody to talk to. Actually, I lie. I had someone to talk to starting in 2018, but from 2018 to now, if you consider that I was going through my awakening from 2012, like I did 6 years of dark nights of the soul by myself. Like that was a freaking nightmare. So I, as an intuitive ascension coach, I really want to help people with their dark nights of the soul, because they're so traumatic. You can end up in the hospital. You often do need some sort of medication to stabilize you, whether it's pharmaceuticals, plant medicine, or whatever, right? And I don't recommend that you go through it by yourself. Oftentimes you have to, some things you have to go through by yourself, but if you can get help, if you can get some support so that you have someone that you can discuss what's happening as like a touch point, so that you're not just swirling in the breeze of your depression, anger, and rage as you're trying to heal this process so that you can become someone fresh and new, it becomes very, very difficult. It becomes very difficult. And oftentimes you'll see people cycle and they get stuck in a cycle and they can't move forward. All right. So let's see. What else do we need to talk about? I feel like I went through this really quickly. So, Dark Night of the Soul, what is it? It is hitting rock bottom in a spiritual sense. It can be triggered by a death in the family, your own illness, illness of another family member, basically by any traumatic event. It can also be triggered by multiple traumatic events. So, say, for instance, you got into a car accident and then you were injured. And then when you finally started to feel a little bit better, you ended up losing a family member. And then when you started, when that, after that family member had passed away, something else horrible happened. Your dog died. Okay. These three sets of events, these can truly trigger a dark night of the soul. It's usually combinations of events. And then those force you to look at your reality and reassess it on an extremely deep and a very deep and multi-layered manner. I don't even know if that was the right way to say that, but whatever. So trying to think what else is there to say about Dark Nights of the Soul. Now, anybody who's watching right now, do you have any questions about a Dark Night of the Soul? Have you experienced one yourself? And do you find that now, if you had one in the past and you've had one this year, do you feel like your Dark Nights of the Soul are more intense this year than they were in the past? Feel free to chime in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because this is like super quiet today because I'm on late. I'm not usually on this late. But nope, no comments. Cool. So what else can we talk about when it comes to Dark Nights of the Soul? I'm going to be doing a Dark Night of the Soul coaching group where we will do a mastermind, and there'll be a maximum of 5 people in this coaching group. And you'll be able to work on journal prompts and figure out how to turn what's going on in your Dark Night of the Soul into gold. Okay? Because, like I said, when you're doing a Dark Night of the Soul, it's because you're birthing something. So if you can focus your energy on figuring out what it is you're birthing, then you're able to facilitate that birth and ease it up so that you're not suffering as much during your Dark Night of the Soul, right? Another thing that helps is being able to have a spiritual anchor, not being tethered to some sort of spiritual entity, some sort of belief in a higher power or a greater creator. That makes it really hard to weather Dark Nights of the Soul. Being disconnected from source makes it very difficult to weather a Dark Night of the Soul. Oftentimes something that disconnects you from source can turn into a Dark Night of the Soul. For instance, when I had my car accident, I had been connected to source, but because of all of the pain in my body, I couldn't hear the creator anymore. And it was really stressful for me. Like extremely, extremely stressful. I was like traumatized. I was traumatized. Really, I was. I was like, oh my God, I can't hear God. I was like, is it going to come back? And thankfully, I had a friend of mine who was able to be the messenger at the time. And he was like, yeah, it's just the pain. The pain is drowning out your ability to hear God. You have to learn to quiet that to hear it again. And I was like, oh my God, please come back to me. I was like, please. Oh, wow. So, so just things like that. Things like that. When you have an extremely intense reaction to a Dark Night of the Soul, when you are getting dragged by the universe and it seems like nothing is going your way, it's for you to understand that there's something that needs to be shifting in your life. So usually boundaries. Oh, damn, boundaries. Usually it's your boundaries are crap. Usually your worth is you don't have enough self-worth. Usually you don't have enough self-esteem. Usually you're not loving yourself appropriately. Usually your self-care is low, or there is some massive ancestral trauma, or some like massive lesson that just needs to be cleared up, and you'll have like a crazy Dark Night of the Soul to just get that out of the way. And if you're one of those people who gets really impatient with your manifestations, oftentimes you can cause your own Dark Night of the Soul by being overly enthusiastic with your spiritual work and calling in change. So people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I just bought a moldavite crystal. It's so pretty and I'm excited for it to like transform my life, right? And then the very next week they get into a car wreck and they're like, yo, what happened? Well, moldavite is a very potent stone of transformation. It has lightning quick effects and it's very powerful. So you can add a change into your life that you weren't even really ready for, and all of a sudden the universe will just blow things apart, because in order for you to be free, they have to break the cage that you're in, and depending on how you decided to get out of the cage, you decided to get a moldavite crystal instead of just unlocking the door and walking out, right? So the universe blew the cage up, and you're sitting there looking at the fallout going, oh, wow. Wow, what did I just do? And then you're panicking because now you got to figure out how to deal with the fallout of your desire. And oftentimes you don't even know what your desire is. So it's really important that you go ahead and find out, okay, obviously I'm creating something. Obviously I'm birthing something new, but what is it? And how do I facilitate that so that I don't have to have any more cage blowing up experiences? Does that make sense? So, so yeah. So I think honestly, that's really it on this live on Dark Night of the Soul. I thought it would be longer, but it's not. And let me pull a card for us. Hold on a second, guys. Let me go grab my cards. I'll be right back. We're gonna pick this one. I'm going to pick up my Threads of Fate deck. Ooh, Threads of Fate. I love this deck. I haven't used it in a while. And I'm going to pull a card for us tonight. And let's see. When it comes to the Dark Night of the Soul, what is the one thing that we need to know about a Dark Night of a Soul? What do we need to know? What do we need to know about the Dark Night of the Soul? That was my commercial for that, okay? All right, so, ooh, that card wants to come out. So I've got actually 2 cards. All right, I've got 2 cards popping out, and they say, I can't make this shit up. They say, get curious. Well, okay, IG, you can see better. Says get curious. Okay, I'm gonna put this up here. Get curious. And if you look at the picture, everyone, it's basically you spreading your wings and flying free, right? And you got to go figure stuff out. You got to go figure stuff out. So the next card is soul work. And I want you to notice that this is a bee. So you got to be a busy bee. And just remember that bees don't operate without their hive. They're not lone insects. They work together as a group. Everybody has a function. Everybody has a purpose, and everybody works together to take care of the queen and the rest of the hive. Okay, so this has got to do feminine, divine, creating connections. Ooh. Feminine divine, creating connections, finding your soul tribe, and doing the work your soul desperately needs in order for you to complete your ascension process. Now, this card, the Get Curious card, when you're learning to manifest something, you have to get curious. And you have to get curious about what your spirit guides are telling you or what your intuition is telling you. And you have to be willing to reality test it by going out and following the impulses that your spirit guides and your angels and your angelics and your intuition give you. Okay, so let's see what my book says about these, because that's what my intuitive interpretation is of these 2 cards. But I like to see what the book says, because the book has always these great questions in it. Let's see. Get Curious, which is a fire card. What's funny is I looked at the number and then immediately flipped to the section and lost it. There it is. That's what happens when you're neurodivergent. Like your ADD kicks in like super quick. Actually, I have ADHD. Anyway, all right. So it says get curious. A lot is said about how important it is to have a positive mindset, but not as much about a curious mindset. Curiosity can be the bridge to shifting our thought patterns. It is neutral but inviting. And when we feel stuck, cynical, and bored with life, Tapping into our curiosity can spark a rapid domino effect within our thoughts. There is so much in this world we will never know, but to simply begin wondering about what it is around you can snowball and blah blah. There is so much in this world we will never know, but to simply begin wondering about what it is around you, you can snowball into passions and excitement you never knew you had. If you are unsure where to begin, simply look around and ask, how do flowers get their colors? How do snakes evolve? Do dogs taste the same things as human? Nothing is too silly. So go ahead and ask yourself a silly question today, like, I don't know, where do lizards go to die? Other than like windowsills and doorways, because that's usually where I found them. Okay, and then raven. So ravens are one of the most intelligent animals on this planet. In fact, they even outsmart chimps. They're my personal favorite too, by the way. They can make tools, solve puzzles, and plan for the future. They have quite a bit of trickster in them and have been known to leave gifts for people or open gates to livestock pens. Ravens have a sophisticated vocalization system with over 30 different patterns, but their curiosity manifests in many ways. One of them being the most impressive is that they can mimic human voices. The raven can teach us how to be in a curious and playful state when we are approaching our challenges or need to problem solve. Okay, so if you wanted an animal to help you focus your curiosity, draw upon the raven. Okay. Now, the other card that we have is soul work. Let's see what that has to say and what animal we want to talk about there. 46. Whoa, it's already got bees on it. Bees are phenomenal. Protect the bees. All right, so soul work. Sometimes while we are navigating our day-to-day life, we can lose sight of our highest purpose in this earthly realm. This card asks you to once again check in with your soul purpose. It is not possible to be derailed from your soul no matter where you are, but clarity does help us show up for it in a more intentional way. Sit with these questions. Hi, Jizzymatic. Sit with these questions and ask, what are you here to teach? What are you here to learn? What stirs in your heart? And spend some time reflecting upon your soul mission and how you can integrate it into your life. You guys, I can't pick these cards. I can't make this stuff up. I literally just talked about all of this, and this is the cards that we have. Perfect. So the life of a bee is all centered in one mission: to nurture the colony. There are different types of bees, and they each have their own unique job, but it is all to serve the collective. The bee is an ally for our soul mission because once we have an idea of what we are here to do and how we want to do it, they can teach us how to create structure and productivity. Call upon the bee when you are in the liminal space between knowing and action. So here's how this works out for you, right? You were sitting here on the brink of something brand new. And when you're in your dark night of the soul, you don't know what it is, but something's about to happen. And you're just kind of stuck in between. You're in the caterpillar phase and you're in the goo phase of the caterpillar, like you've been melted down and you haven't quite built yourself into this new butterfly yet. And so while you're in that in-between phase, it's very disconcerting. It's very frustrating. It's scary even. And that's the time when you want to focus in on your soul's purpose. If you don't know what your soul's purpose is, then that's when you need to go ahead and invest in yourself and hire someone to help you understand that. Now, I'm not going to be the one that tells you what your soul's purpose is, but what I can help you do is discover it yourself. Because at the end of the day, only you truly know what your soul wants. And it may be an unconscious desire right now, but with some work, with some effort, with some mindfulness, hi Tito, with some mindfulness, you are then able to learn your soul purpose and apply that clarity to your life. And once you start doing that and working on your path and working in your soul's purpose, your life improves and the universe starts to work with you and not against you. when you're not working in your purpose, when you're not living in your truth, when you're not living in your alignment, it feels like everybody's out to get you, right? But if you are in alignment, if you're working in your soul's purpose, if you're working in your truth, even if you have a dark night of the soul, you will realize that this is simply a process that you're going through so that you can go ahead and expand and thrive and enjoy your life. Okay? So that's the whole purpose of a dark night of the soul. They sound horrible. They kind of are. But the truth is that it's the pot of gold on the other side. And sometimes you got to go through some bullshit to win. And if you're going to be a winner, you can't give up. And that's the thing that people don't tell you. The reason you're a winner is because you haven't folded yet. So just don't fold. The statistics are totally with you. As long as you don't give up, you're guaranteed to win. So don't give up. Okay. All right. So that's our live for today. If you want to catch this live again, if you missed the beginning of it, I'll have it up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Just look for Gaia Soars and my name, Kimrah Minuty, and you will find me online. And we'll have a replay of this up on Thursday. If you have any questions, anybody on IG, go ahead and drop me a question. Anybody else on Facebook, YouTube? This has been a real quiet live. I've had like 0 people talking to me, which is interesting, but whatever. And I think that's it. If you guys would like to get some clarity and figure out what your soul's purpose is and find out how you can improve your own emotional stability and understanding of your awakening process, your ascension process, click the link in my bio, schedule a private session with me, and we can talk about it. All right. So my name's Kimrah Minuty. I'm your friendly neighborhood intuitive ascension coach. Don't forget to drink water, heal yourself, heal the world, and transform your tragedy into triumph. Have a wonderful and blessed day.